Welcome to Daggers and Shadow Daddies.
We're your hosts, Ryan and Adriana.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
I would just keep thinking about you texting me when you got to chapter 22.
Oh, chapter 22 was crazy. Maybe it wasn't as intense as I remembered as. It was more like...
It was more spicy than the previous books.
Good. Then it was.
Yeah.
Because I just remember having to have conversations with people while that's going in my ear, and I can't just, get to my phone because it's over by my trailer. So I'm like, I can't even get over there to that. So I just had to look people dead in the eyes while listening to that. It was a lot. No saw going or anything. I didn't miss a beat.
You just texted me, don't listen to this around the children.
Yeah, make sure your headphones are on, for sure. Not a bad chapter, though.
Oh, and
I thought they did a nice job.
It goes back to the logistics I told you about. Finally, we have some logistics of what it would be like as a couple where you can mind vibe and have wings.
Yeah, again, the wings are not an impressive part of these logistics. They added nothing.
No, but I mean, we need to hear something about it. And especially them using their powers.
While we're on about logistics, how do you think they were fucking in the sky?
Yeah.
No, I'm asking you, logistically, how do you think this was happening? He's generating lift with his wings, right?
I put it as challenging as giving, with Roadhead.
What? No.
How are people driving and doing that?
Do you think driving is in any way as difficult as maintaining your position both vertically and horizontally in space, let alone the fact that you're physically flapping your wings while doing this? He can't rise up higher. It gets too cold. He gets too low. Everybody's looking up their skirts. I don't know, man.
He has them hidden. Oh, but yeah, that's another part of logistics.
You see what I'm saying? Logistically, because every time it gets brought up, it cracks me over. It's like, think of logistics, and it's like, no, it's bad. First of all, I would like to add a roadhead. Who is that crazy difficult for?
I would assume it's difficult to drive.
Listen, you can zone out far more driving than should be able to.
Concerning.
It is not safe. I'm not suggesting they should be doing that. It's not safe. All I'm saying is way different than flying. Physically flying. He's also supporting her because she can't fly very well. So it sounds arduous as fuck.
Only one of them could have their wings out because they would hit their wings together.
Yeah, and then you're flapping like that, right? So you're semi-concentrated on wing movement. So what if all your boner blood's going to your wings? You know what I'm saying?
We didn't hear if he got off or not. They just enjoyed it. I mean, there's times where there's sex and it's just for fun.
I'm not disagreeing.
And then later is for the business. And maybe that's what this was. This was just for some funsies.
I'm not disagreeing. If you'd like to skydive and fuck, I'm super on board. But I will tell you, that's easier than what they're doing. Logistically, it just sounds like I would have landed and had sex. I would try it in the sky for sure. But I don't think anybody's looking back on that moment and being like, yeah, we fuck like birds. Birds don't do it in the sky. Fucking nothing fucks in the sky because logistically it's a problem.
Think of the logistics.
You brought it up.
I know. Chapter 6 is about more, and again, more of just a recap of her life and her...
Also third person perspective for each other.
Yeah. Reflected on our traumatic past.
We did gain a little knowledge.
Like what? It sounded like Eris really did do what he said he did.
Eris found her that way.
And told someone to leave her alone.
As in, don't touch her in any way, right? So it's not... Eris wasn't the one who pounded the nail and stuff into her womb. That was her parents or her family did that and left her there. And then Eris is just like, nobody fucking touch her. According to her memory, right, is nobody touch her. And then they were going to mess with her, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I said fucking nobody touch her. As in, he played it off as like, oh, it's a hot potato situation. Like, whoever touches the hot potato last, right, they're responsible for it type of thing.
It does sound like a situation that could be interpreted as do not help her versus we're going to make it worse and leave her there for a moment until we can get someone here. Like,
I think the idea was, and maybe I'm wrong, right? This is me having wishful thinking on Eris's part. I think Eris looked at it as though if we involve ourselves, right, we're going to make it worse for us and her and anybody else in between, right?
mm-hmm.
By just complicating it, adding more sausage to the stew, so to speak. But I think he's also where he's like, oh, this is Rhysand's cousin, and Rhysand's got this shadow singer buddy who's always floating around her, blah, blah, blah. I think he has some understanding of the fact that she wasn't going to die, that she was going to be rescued by somebody else. Does that make sense? Which I'm not suggesting it's a good thing, but I think it's better.
I do see where it's easy to misinterpret the situation more than I realized. Like, it seemed kind of black and white how Moore perceived it, but we don't know who did it. We just know who found her.
And we're not given enough information to get a well-rounded view, but I do feel like we gained something from the idea where he's like, don't fucking touch her, as in, don't make it worse for her, and also don't make it worse for us. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Chapter 7, back to Rhysand's POV, and this is when he's talking to Azriel, and they bring up Lucian, because Azriel is bringing the maps to figure out the discontent, helping out with all of this stuff, and they're just kind of reflecting on Lucian, where is he at, and how good of a poker face Azriel really has. I think Azriel was monitoring Lucian, but it's really hard to say because Rhysand admits he always loses at poker because he can't read Azriel's face.
My guess is Azriel keeps a close eye on Feyre's sister, Elaine. And I don't think he's keeping that close of an eye on Lucian. Just my guess from this.
He's a very respectable person.
Well, and where I get this from is the way that he handled Cassian's lack of manners at dinner.
Yes.
Is why I think that he's sort of honor bound to Elaine. If nothing else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I really like Azriel.
Yeah. I think he's intentionally written to be everybody's favorite. He's my favorite. And then Cassian. Actually, Cassian might be my favorite, and then Azriel. Because also Azriel is still slobbering over more also.
Yeah, it's confusing. They had a little bit of a awkward moment with gifts being exchanged. On the note of gifts being exchanged, Cassian gave more lingerie, and him, essentially. It was like...
matching boxers.
Yeah, that was...
Do you know why he gave her lingerie? Do you remember this?
No.
He didn't know what to get her, so she sent him with a very specific list where to get it from, what color, and what she wanted, because she wanted it as a gift. And he's like, oh, I don't know what to get her. And she's like, here, I will tell you exactly what to get me.
Really? That's what happened?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And that's why then she just got her the matching boxers because she thought it'd be really funny.
Okay, that is really funny. That is a way better scene. Oh my God. Who did she get the lingerie for? Why did she want it as a gift?
Well, she just wanted it because it's expensive lingerie. And she's like, oh, fuck it.
How
You want to give me something?
expensive?
Listen,
Did
if
they-
you're getting into this now, why is anybody getting anybody else any gifts? They can all afford anything they've ever wanted except for the two Illyrians.
Favorite does say that. It's a cultural thing. It's not a
Yeah.
money thing.
That's it.
I kind of want to re-listen to whatever chapter that was. I don't remember Moore saying any of that. It was because of a money thing?
No,
It was too
wasn't
expensive?
no, not because it was too expensive. It was just fancy lingerie. He did not know what to get her for a gift, so she gave him very specific order for what she wanted. That was it. And that's where he makes the joke, I know what you like.
Because she told him.
Yeah, and it was also meant to be a moment where it made Azriel uncomfortable because of them having sex.
That was the
There was a
awkward moment.
double entendre
Yeah.
of this, so to speak.
Yeah. Awkward.
It was meant to be. I don't know. I think it landed. I giggled.
Well, yeah, you understood that scenario way better than me. I think I must have been listening at work, and I hear she got lingerie, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then we continue on, and then he got a matching pair of boxers. I'm like, what? even more confused. And I was just like, okay, I guess.
What did Moore get Asriel?
What did he get? I don't know. What did he get from Moore?
Monogram towels.
Oh, yeah. That was kind of entertaining in a silly way. It was just cute.
Do you remember what color they were?
Blue or green?
It's like blue on blue.
Yeah.
Something like that. I'm like, fuck? Why? But I like that something was finally described as blue besides Asriel's siphons.
That's what I thought. I remember it was either a color you could see or could not see in the moment, because I was thinking about that.
That would be true no matter what. That covers all the colors. There are the ones I can see and then the ones I cannot.
You can accurately see or not.
Yeah, that's all of them.
Okay, chapter 8. It's about Cassian and him with the shop owner. He was looking for a man who died in the war. His daughter took it over. And we already talked a little bit about how he handled that situation. And I thought it was great. This scene was like A Knight's Tale with the blacksmith, and how she is incredibly talented, hardworking, all these things as a blacksmith, but nobody wants to use her business. And
yeah,
Cassian's like, well, I'll support this business.
Well, remember, his first intention had nothing even to do with her.
Yeah.
But he did immediately feel bad for her because she's clipped.
Yeah.
And he's like, so clearly she was brought up in a household where tradition is super important. He's like, but then also she didn't lower her head when speaking to him. She was very boisterous and kind of reminded him of Nesta.
Yes.
And so he found comfort in her abrasiveness. And I loved it so much. I felt so good for him.
I wrote this one down because you pointed this out in the past where certain words that are present day terms that wouldn't be used in the setting that it feels like. What is an example of that you...
Just non-contemporaneous?
Yes.
Like, I'm trying to think of any kind of example. Like, you wouldn't say gasoline in anything that has to do with this era.
It was
right?
like pedal or throttle or throttle someone that he said, right?
Yes.
Cassian mentions that Nesta likes to read smut. I didn't think smut would be a word that they would use. That stood out to me. That felt like it's a very us world thing. What do you think?
I think smut is actually a carryover word. I do think smut is a much older word.
Okay.
But I might only assume that because 4-letter words, and I don't know, it sounds kind of slurry.
The word smut, and this is from the stupid Gemini thing. I could go down here. I don't know if I should use it. The next option is fan fiction on Reddit.
I don't know if that's valuable.
1500s, late 1500s, early 1600s.
That works. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think that one was a fair one. Yeah. So she reads smut.
Yeah, it felt a little on the nose. But remember, we kind of knew that.
Yeah, because of the romance. And who gave her the books? Was that Moore that got her the romance books?
No, I think that was Cassian.
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
it?
I thought it was Moore.
Maybe it was Moore.
I think it was...
oh, no, it was Elaine.
Was it?
Yes,
okay.
Elaine gave her the smutty books.
Well, it was cute. I liked that moment that she got those books. And I just liked imagining her walking away with the little stack with her attitude and then taking the money. And she still had the whole stack the entire time walking back with Cassian.
Pornography and money.
Chapter 9 is when Feyre stood up the girl for painting. That's pretty much all that happened.
Yeah.
And she painted her beast form in chapter 10. And she left
We're calling it her beast form.
I don't know what else.
We're saying as a beast form, she has an internal monster.
Yeah, an internal
Her
beast.
reflection of true self. I like it. Beast form is great.
And she leaves in the shop. She's like, no one's going to find this. I'm like, someone's going to find this.
I didn't sign my name. They'll never know who did it. It's like, but painting takes like a lot of hours. And you're doing this in a time where window light is your primary source of light while you're painting. How many people watched you paint this? You're like, they'll never know.
No, it's all boarded up because of the broken windows from the fight.
So she's doing this all from candlelight on the inside?
Some type of fey light.
Oh my God, I forgot fey lights. Oh, damn it. Never mind. My point is moot.
Nobody did end up finding it. Chapter 11 is when rhysand is in the spring court. The house is completely empty. We've kind of talked about this. They're growling, and then in the end, he looked for jewels for Feyre.
Rhys is a bit of a prick about this, too, because he's going through the house, and he's like, wow, this fucking idiot destroyed his house, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, he's demeaning in the third person sometimes. He's like, he took me to the only room likely that had furniture we could sit on. You know what I mean?
This is one of those examples I told you it's really easy to hate on the characters because of the way that information is shared with us. It's from their POV. And if someone were to actually think like this, it comes off like an asshole. But I actually think the author trying to share information, which in turn is a part of their personality to think like that.
Yeah, no, I think they are assholes. I think that's kind of what it is. I think he's intentionally being a dick because these things also don't happen at times where it wouldn't. The opposing thing happens at, what's his name's castle. When they're first going to their big meeting of all the High Lords, right?
Yeah, the super beautiful castle.
Yeah, his palace, and it's gorgeous. And the only reason I say that they are legitimately thinking these things is Feyre's thinking these things, and then rhysand is commenting on her thoughts, saying like, oh, do we need to redo our palace, blah, blah, blah. Like, it is somewhat understood to actually be occurring.
Yeah, as part of their personality.
Well, it's the actual thought process in that moment.
Yeah, you're right.
And
okay. Well, we're trying to help out a little bit that, we need this extra information.
But the only time that's given to us is, I think, when it's a character that we're supposed to be okay with them being an asshole too. Which I kind of get, but like this, where rhysand's being a dick to Tamlin, both verbally and in his head. But he's also pretty honest about the fact that he really hates the guy.
Yeah.
Right? And I get it. I think he has a right to hate Tamlin. To be fair, I also think Tamlin has a right to be bitter with rhysand. But rhysand's got an awful lot of forgiveness for a lot of shitty things he did very quickly. Tamlin's big crime before this with Feyre was being overprotective.
Tamlin has other things going against him with killing rhysand's family, how he handled it.
It's reciprocated between the two of them, right? Like, they both did this. I'm not suggesting Tamlin isn't wrong for that. I'm saying, like, where he's like, will Feyre ever forgive me? And I'm like, outside of a hybrid thing, like, yeah, he was a dick about, like, you don't get to leave the house, or, basically, his outbursts were obnoxious. But I wouldn't say they're worse than what some people dealt with under the mountain that rhysand perpetrated. And they're like, and he's like, I didn't want to, but I had to keep my cover. And everybody's like, you silly goose. Like,
but not everyone forgave rhysand for that.
But look at the amount of High Lords that did immediately. And you're like, all you have to do with Tamlin, you guys don't have to go to breakfast at the end of this. Just quit being so unnecessarily cruel. Like, you can hate the guy and not be cruel.
Lucian calls this out. He says to Feyre, he talks about this.
Yeah, and I think Lucian made some good points.
And I think you did get acknowledgement that there are characters that see it for what it is, the same way as you.
Do you see it that way?
Yes, I do. I was just acknowledging that it's not something we have to gloss over that is acknowledged by other characters.
No, that's totally fair. I get it. You're like, Ryan, we really need to get through this fucking book.
No.
It's been a few weeks since I've done this.
I'm trying to validate your feelings through Lucian.
Well,
and other
in the
characters.
future, can we find other characters to validate my feelings?
Next up, when it comes to finances, I mean, all of your complaints, there are characters that don't like these characters the same way as you.
I like rhysand. It's Feyre that I have a difficulty.
I bet Tamlin also likes rhysand to some degree.
I don't like Tamlin either. Now I come off like a Tamlin sympathizer. What's wrong with me? I just feel bad for Tamlin, but I don't like him. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think you're just a hater on everyone.
Really?
No.
Oh, I was like, man, I didn't feel that way. Maybe
it just kind of cracks me.
It's just Feyre that I'm so hard on.
You were so invested into them that they can get you so riled up.
Oh, Feyre in particular. And I think some of it is because I have a daughter and I see little parts of my daughter in kind of some of the attitude that Feyre has, where it's like this, you're fucking lucky I am here. I have these moments with my daughter, our daughter, where I'm just like, I just want to squeeze and just be like, oh, you're so amazing. And then I like, oh, you better not grow up and be like, this bitch is terrible. Like, huh.
I think all girls go through this
All girls are Feyre.
at some point. Yes.
Is it weird that I think all boys think they're rhysand?
No. Yes, all boys think they are as wise and mature as rhysand, but really aren't.
I wouldn't even suggest the maturity. I think they all think they're that cool. I don't think rhysand's that wise and mature. Look at how he's handling his 21-year-old spouse.
I don't like bringing up their age gap.
I'm so sorry, but this entire book is about her birthday party, where she turns 21 years old.
I know.
I can't believe they keep bringing it up.
They put candles on it. At what point do you quit doing candles? Like
rhysand if they put 580 candles in his candle. In his cake. I think that's the funniest shit. They're putting candles in there. Hey.
And they don't acknowledge it, how young she is. Like, when that... So, you know how you get the acknowledgement from Lucian, at least, with your sanity check? Like, at least there's a character in this book that realizes that you guys are just rubbing it in Tamlin's face. Just quit kicking a man while he's down. There is no one acknowledging how young she is.
Well, to be fair, who's going to? Lucian, the one who's in love with her sister who's 2 years older than she is? Or Cassian, who's in love with the sister who's like 3 years older than her? Like, I don't know, man. I think that really this is a house of creeps. This is what I'm getting from it. And Azriel, who's sort of longing after the one that looks like a smaller, less developed version of Moore. You just hear about their golden curls. Maybe they are creeps. This is a different book. No, I refuse to believe this. Sorry.
We're
Sorry,
just...
I'm wrong.
Part of the fantasy is ignoring the age gap.
I think that's actually a part of the fantasy for some of the people. I think some people are like, I'm going to find me a rich old man to fuck around with. And they're like, oh, and he don't need no Rogaine? His hair's pretty black.
Again, typical 21-year-old.
Yeah, would you fuck a 550-year-old man that's worth $86 billion? You're like, he's been dead for 150,000 years, but, you know, throw him a bone, so to speak. I agree. The age gap thing, so crazy to me. What's really wild is it makes sense that none of the Fae are bringing it up, but it doesn't make sense that, like, the humans aren't. Because I think Nesta brought it up once when Feyre went back, and then afterward, they're all just like, listen, age is just a number. We're all co-people here. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that would imply that they accepted their immortality much faster. Like, your concept of old changed already. I think that if we instantly gained mortality, it would take me more than a few months to reestablish what I think is old for us.
I'll tell you what. It wouldn't take me long. I think it would never happen. The healer lady, what's her name again?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I'm going to call her Ethel, even though her name is sort of like Ianthe's name, but it's not.
I think Ethel is a fitting name for my image of her.
Yeah, because she's just a little bitty.
You know, we'll just change names in a book where everyone has defined names.
But do they? Because this lady's name is so similar to Ianthe.
So Ethel.
Ethel. Clearly they do age at a certain point.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know how old Ethel is. But we could say Perinthe is roughly 1,500 years old, right? Rhysand has been alive for about a third of that time. Ethel's probably been around for about 1,000 years, let's say.
That was my guess.
So would you say that Feyre's gotten wiser between year 20 and year 21? Probably.
Yeah.
We'd make that argument. So Rhysand's done that 500 more times. She has.
You're such an ass.
No, I'm just saying, how is it not such a big point?
Anyways.
Sorry.
Chapter 12, Feyre. Everyone gathers for the winter solstice.
And her birthday.
So much flirting, but no scenes. This is me realizing we're 12 chapters in. There's nothing sexy going on between her and Rhysand.
A lot of build-up.
Chapter 22, I think, made up for all of it. Everyone but Nessa arrives. This is almost like Christmas Eve is this day that's happening because everyone arrives. They had dinner, and we learn a lot about Amren and her new body, her not knowing how to pee.
She did. That was the joke. They said, do you not know how to use a toilet? And she's like, I know how to pee.
Well,
I watched animals.
But she didn't really... Eat.
Just watching, I'm like, this rabbit's got to piss sometime. I got to figure out how this thing works.
Well, if you use animals as an example, they just go whenever.
Which animals pee like humans? None of them do. Like,
designated locations.
I'm just thinking, even just physiologically, what bipedal critter could you watch? Otherwise, is she getting down on all fours and like squatting in the yard? Like, if you watched an animal use the bathroom, it does not approximate how you're going to do it at all because you picked a humanoid form, which cracks me up. Also, she's like, I don't like to eat because I don't like to shit. And you're like,
she did not say that.
She did.
No, she did
They're
not.
They're like, eat some more. She's like, no, because it has, the more you eat, comes with more unfortunate side effects of eating. And that's where, what's her name? Elaine is like, what side effects? And everybody's like, oh, fuck. She doesn't get it. She's talking about pooping.
I was not picking up on the clues that Amren was picking up on with Elaine's questions. Elaine was trying to figure out if she could go to her old human body. I didn't pick up on that. Amren did. She's like, don't be asking questions, girl.
I like the way Amren still refers to everybody as girl. But now that Amren's not as powerful, you notice everybody's fucking hot to trot when Amren fucks up.
She can still do something. They mentioned
power.
She has some type of power. They mentioned it. God damn it, I didn't read it.
I think she still has traces of her power.
Yeah.
But it's just a fraction of what she did have.
Yeah.
She's no longer this uber powerful crazy thing. I think she can still make people hallucinate and experience fear and blah, 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 blah. But before we get too far carried away, Azriel offered to go pick up Bryaxis. And
he did?
Rhysand's like, don't worry about it. Let him enjoy his solstice.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Don't worry about it. And then they decorate their house with Christmas decorations. And Azriel pops in and he's like, you fuckers must have tried to make this ugly. Because Cassian and Feyre started decorating, they got drunk, and neither of them are good at decorating. Every artist I know is really good at decorating.
But she was drunk. And
she got that way throughout the process, for sure.
It was a pile of pine cones, I think, even. How do you decorate pine cones?
Man, they're the artist. I don't know. But I do love that he just came in and was like fixing their garland and their pine cone stuff. He's like, you guys are fucking terrible. But I'm just imagining he's using like dainty little finger things. And at some point, Rhysand comes in. He's like, you guys got into my good wine? And they're like, it was Azriel. And Azriel's like, let me explain. He's like, I know Cassian's always the one in my good wine.
Our son is very similar to Azriel. Like, you, me, and our daughter will just mess around and like destroy. He's like, this is not how things go. And
I think, to be fair, I think he gets that from me.
Yeah.
Because I have had to learn that things can be askew and not where they need to be. But I love that there's so much of that nature to him. But do you think Azriel's so much a perfectionist as he's more like, my fucking boss is going to be here in a bit?
I think it's more like that of, oh, this is disorderly. We should probably get this squared away.
He's anxious almost.
Like, this is the right thing to do, following the rules.
Yes.
And the social rules of this is how things should be prepared.
I like to think that he was just fixing it because Elaine was going to be there.
Oh, that's so cute.
Well, I think that's kind of how I took it, because outside of his whole things with Elaine, he doesn't seem to be super into the whole pomp and circumstance of everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But he seems to be like going the extra mile. He's like, this is Elaine's first solstice.
That's so cute. I hope that's why. Chapter 13, Feyre's POV. There's issues between the sisters, and she goes and finds Nesta and begs her to come for Solstice. Not a lot happens, and that's about it. Chapter 14, Rhysand, he meets with Moore, and they go on like this really long talk, and they have like their one-on-one kind of thing. This is where the book
She still doesn't say she's gay.
No, she doesn't. This is when I was really struggling getting through the book, because I'm like, there's no content that I was really pumped with. I understood why others would enjoy it. It was, you can hear about your favorite characters hanging out together. Not a lot happened in that chapter. Chapter 15, Feyre goes to a weaver shop. I did not like how she said the weaver, as it was used as a title in the last two books.
Striga. Now, why can I remember that name?
Yeah.
I don't know. Gary Wright.
Gary Wright. The only thing about this, I thought this was such a beautiful scene with this weaver, but the title of the weaver, and then it's actually a description, a job description. I don't know.
I want to get their name. You know what I mean? You're a high lady. Be diplomatic. Oh, you're a weaver. What is your name? And then it could have been like, my name's Carol. And it should have been like, Carol told me the name of this fabric was void.
No, yeah, she kept the entire title of the weaver also.
And she addressed it. At some point, Feyre's also like, and there I was picturing Striga, neck being snapped and tossed into the pit of the hybrid monsters.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, okay. But the black fabric sounded super rad and Elaine sounded weird.
If I could get you a blanket, it would be this blanket.
I would love that blanket.
I figured you would. It sounded exactly like something you would love. And why was Elaine weird? What do you mean?
It was kind of weird. She was just she sounded shifty. What was going on? And she's like trying to change the subject. She's like, what do you call this one? I can't remember what the name of that fabric was. She's like, it means hope. And you're like, oh, okay.
Oh, is the string.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I just remember there being something odd to it. I'm just like, okay. But Elaine is not a compelling character.
I was just going to say, she got too many lines and she didn't know what to do and got awkward.
It was when Rhysand was giving speeches. That's Elaine, just in the book.
Chapter 16, Rhysand meets with Cassian about the rebels. Ooh, I have to know, I think Amren can read minds. She made a couple references throughout these chapters. Rhysand thinks something perverted and she tells him to stop and she blames it on the smell. I can smell you from here, boy, kind of thing, right? And in previous chapter somewhere, Feyre made a face, but she was thinking something. Amren acknowledged it out loud, and then Feyre was like, oh, well, my face was very telling.
I didn't pick up on that. Good
job. It really threw me off. The first time with Feyre's face, she's like, oh, well, I was making a face. Nobody ever has done that, acknowledged like that they knew what she was thinking based off of her face. So I don't know. I just thought Feyre could maybe read minds because she answered 2 thoughts directly.
Amren?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
No, you're good. No, that's a really good call. I didn't pick up on that at all. I think you're right. That's cool.
Chapter 17, Feyre, she gets her birthday gifts. There was a snowball fight.
She gets to paint him nude. How did you leave that out of this?
No, we're not quite even at the... Oh, maybe I did.
We were. Her gifts.
Yeah, because Rhys was taken.
No, not yet. So that morning she wakes up. Rhys is staring at her right in the face. And her eyes pop open. His are right there. And he's like, good morning, birthday girl. He passes her a gift and she's like, oh, how lovely. More art supplies. He's like, that ain't on, baby. And he passes her another gift and she's like, oh, cool. Even more art supplies. And then he's like, if you ever want to paint me. And she's like, didn't you say you wanted me to paint you naked? And he goes and he throws open the curtains. Just wah, so the sun is washing over him. And there he is in all his naked, muscly splendor. That's splendor. I don't know why I said splendor. Splendor. Whatever. He's naked and muscly and just David out for her. And she's like, and I sketched that guy till he had his fill. And then he looked at him and grunted in approval. Then we got dressed, went downstairs, and the boys were ready to haul him away while I was getting breakfast. So I scooched over and I ate his breakfast. And I'm like, Feyre, you should stop drinking. You sound like you're getting a little pregnant. Right? We're all thinking the same thing at this point. I'm like, stop drinking. Baby's eyes are going to be on each side. Peripheral vision out of her kid's going to be crazy. Like,
Stop it.
Looking like a guppy. But yeah, so there's...
Rhysand gets taken for a boys' day and Lucian arrives.
He also gets nudies taken, which is pretty rad if you think about it. Crazy snowball fight occurs.
Yeah, and Azriel won.
Yeah, Azriel usually wins, I think.
Oh my god. Okay, so she finds them. They're having the snowball fight, right? She's not allowed in there. They're getting dressed or something like that. And Feyre starts messing with him, sending him like dirty thoughts and images and whatnot. And he makes a comment. He's like, oh, I can't, you can't be doing that while I'm around the guys. I'll get kicked out. That was, I don't know.
Wait,
Do you remember this?
Yeah, and they kick him out of the sauna.
Yeah, because he was getting hard.
Not because he was getting hard. They could see the goofy look on his face. I don't think he was getting rocked up in there with his boys.
That's where he said, don't do that or else that will happen. And I can't let that happen.
Oh, wow. 500 years old. Still. Got the control of a boy in the body of a man. Oh, you know what? Honestly, good for them. I'm willing to test this. You send me nudies and we'll see what happens.
I could have swore you would have really picked up on this scene.
I picked up on I remember the scene, but then when she's talking about it, she's like, oh, they're in there just sweating. Moore and her are getting a little horny listening. Well, she's getting a little horny listening to Moore talk about this. And she's like, and I thought about those 3 Illyrian bodies in that sauna. And I'm like, oh, so like I turned my little mental radio down. Could have even been the physical volume on my phone. Either way, turned it down. So I'm like, this part isn't for Ryan. And then it was like, hey, let me back in. She's like, I heard a ruckus. And then Moore's like, kicked him out. And I'm like, oh, okay. I thought he just had like this goofy look on his face, like while he's brain texting her, where he's just like,
oh my gosh.
Man, he got rocked up. That's cool.
Someone got kicked out, and I thought it was Rhys because it happened.
Did get kicked out.
Yeah, and I
thought
think
he had a goofy look on his face.
I think he got a little hard, and they noticed, and they kicked him.
Why would they notice that?
Because they're all nude.
Adri, okay, I've spent so much time in locker rooms. I'm going to let you in on a small secret. You're aware of a penis. You're not staring at it when you're just hanging with your boys. And when, let's say, okay, so the times where I have been in a sauna and, right, you don't wear clothes, to be fair, that's normal. But what you'll generally do is like drape a towel, at least so it's not that you couldn't see it if you're really looking, but you're not going to be just letting your little man stand at attention out there, you know? He's not out there just, you know, flying, just raising the pole. No, if need be, he'd like drape his arm over and you keep it down. That's how this works. You have systems in place, especially 500 years in. Like, this is amateur hour if he's out there just, you know, standing at attention in the middle, just mid-conversation with his voice, standing up there. Just, well, sorry, I gotta talk to Feyre. And then he's just staring at Asriel. Like, Jesus.
That's why he got kicked out of the room.
No, he got kicked out of the room because they could tell he was texting her and doing shit. It was supposed to be boys' day, and he's busy talking with his lady. That's why he got kicked out, not because he got rocked up. Baby, well, I'm going to re-listen to that, because honestly, if he did get rocked up,
It's my story.
What would be the use case? I love this where they're like, did your penis just twitch? And he's like, no. And then the other one's like, it wasn't that big a minute ago. And it's just gradually getting hard. And you got Cassian over there just like, hold on, Asriel, stand next to him. It's almost as big as Asriel's right now. Get the fuck out of here. I think that's so funny. I love this.
Well, at the end of this chapter, she gets her birthday cake.
With
and I just
21 candles.
Yeah, we've already discussed that. We can't dive into that.
I'm just messing with you.
I just want to point out that Elaine and Asriel stood next to each other during the birthday singing.
I thought he was going to put truth teller in her hand so she could cut the cake. Just watch more shit a brick.
Chapter 20. Nesta and Amren are still friends. So Nesta just showed up. And I liked that. They do talk to each other. And Amren doesn't baby Nesta.
I loved that interaction.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, fucking feed her. Don't give her more booze. She's already an alkie. Like,
yeah.
Put some meat on them bones. I can hear her skinny ass clacking through the streets or whatever she said. That definitely wasn't it.
This is when they did the gift sharing, all in front of Nesta, so I felt really bad.
Why didn't they get Nesta gifts?
Just in case. I mean,
yeah.
Just in case she showed up.
Yeah, you didn't know she wouldn't.
Yeah.
She
was invited.
Man, we'll
if
see.
If she was invited, she should have gotten a gift, even if she didn't show up.
And you're rich as fuck. Who cares if she doesn't show up and you just have gifts there? Deliver them to her house later. Just get her shit because the importance of his holidays. For you guys to get together and share gifts.
What was Elaine's gift again to Azriel that made him laugh, cackle?
It was a special powder that he could put in any drink to help alleviate a headache.
That's right.
Because he's always rubbing his head. Because everybody there is fucking stupid, and Azriel has to deal with it, so he just goes so often that she thinks he has chronic migraines. And that's why he laughs so hard. He's like, no, I'm just around these fucking idiots all the time.
It showed how perfect they are for each other, and I hope that they actually get together because it was such a lovely gift.
Do you know, you brought something up probably 10 episodes or 15 episodes ago, whatever, whenever the concept of mates was introduced. And it was discussed how mates are different than marriage partners.
Yeah.
This is what I thought of in this book. I think Azriel and Elaine could be married. I don't think they could be mates because they're not like foaming for each other.
Yeah.
It is just sweet concern, adoration. But
I don't think I could be with someone who wasn't mated to me.
Yeah, but I think Elaine could. Because Elaine doesn't want to be with the one she's mated to.
That makes sense, but where he still has moments of looking at more and wanting her.
The mating bond is a mutual thing, generally, right? Generally speaking.
Yeah.
Nesta and Cassian have it mutually, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance Elaine has it with Lucian, but that doesn't make her brain want him.
But we kind of see where boys are a little more crazed.
I don't disagree, but look at the treatment difference between them. I don't know, man. He'd be so good to Elaine.
Yeah.
I think he would be so good to Elaine, and clearly you don't have to worry about him anymore. He's been trying to fuck her for 500 years and hasn't managed to land the plane once. Now she's not really out, but she's dangling a pinky toe out of that closet if they're paying any kind of attention.
Chapter 21. This is Cassian and Nesta's POV. Not a lot from Nesta was added. He walks her to her apartment and she pushes him away constantly. Oh my God. I don't know where my note is. At some point, Feyre talks to Lucian and she was so mean to him. Is this later? When is it? No, I don't know when they talk to each other. I just realized that I moved past it. Feyre was so mean to Lucian. He brought them gifts.
Yeah.
I don't know if Feyre got him a gift.
I don't think so. So it depends. You want to go on the Feyre and Lucian one right now?
Yeah, I just felt so.
Nesta.
Yeah, I felt so irritated that she was so mean because he was kind of. I thought he was pretty nice to her. He brought gifts, and she was upset and rude.
She was, and I'm not going to be like a big Feyre defender in this one, obviously. But what I would say is, Lucian was friendly about it, but Lucian kind of stirred that pot. Lucian had things to say, and he said them nicely, but what he was saying was judgmental, because it was a lot about how she went through and destroyed Tamlin and blah, blah, blah. And then she said, hey, you're asking about Elaine and stuff. Why don't you move in, get this proximity thing figured out? Then you don't have to keep fawning from afar.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, I live with the rejects. Like, we're the band of broken toys or whatever they're called. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like the Tangerine Bear situation.
Yeah.
And he more or less was like, why don't you mind your business? Because I'm still suffering from what you pulled in the spring court. And then she's like, well, fuck you then too. And it's like, well, to be fair, also, yeah, fuck you, Lucian, because you were complicit in the way that Feyre was treated. And
that's a good way to put it. Okay. Because, yeah, she was just so hard on him and he left the gifts and it was so odd. Feyre only got gifts for very few people. I was very surprised by that.
Yeah, for somebody who's really rich and keeps getting gifted real estate, she's not very giving.
I think she was all about trying to give thoughtful gifts.
Was she?
She gave paintings for everyone.
It's true. I'm not disagreeing with you. I realize now the way I said, is she, that sounded accusatory.
What did she get Elaine?
I don't remember. Perhaps the silver string.
I don't know.
Oh, she got her something, was it cooking something or something like that? Because didn't she talk to either Caradwin or Nuala
Yeah.
about this?
Yeah, she did get something for her. And then Lucian got her the gloves. Anyways, we can jump back to where Cassian walks Nesta to her apartment. She is pushing him away. And he doesn't. What do you think he got her? What do you think it was? We didn't get to know.
I don't know. No idea. I'm going to guess a knife or something.
Makes me sad.
Something so she can defend herself while she's living in that hovel. Like, I think that might be something it could be, or maybe it's something sentimental from, like, the battlefield. Maybe it's the King of Hybern's face. Who knows?
In a locket.
They just folded it. There's magic. I don't fucking know. It's small now. It's shrunk. But I do want to talk about their whole thing just for a second. So she keeps pushing him away. He does try to address it. He's like, why are you being this way? He's like, I understand what you're going through, more or less, right? He's like, I can at least understand that post-battle, it took me a long time to get through this after witnessing the carnage of war and so on and so forth, which I might add, their war consisted of one major battle that Nesta was a part of. Other than that, there was 2 other major battles, total of 3 battles, and the war was over. Wild. Anyway, I feel for her, but I keep thinking she has to, something comes of her. I like that she's independent of Cassian, right? Those 2 characters can exist so perfectly independently, like no other pair in the rest of this book. Because as it sets right now, everything Feyre does, you hear the effect on rhysand, whatever, and vice versa, right? Elaine, you do not hear about Elaine unless it also really has to do with Asriel or Lucian. Like, they're kind of always in that proximity, right?
Yeah.
I do like that Nesta, Cassian stuff is brought up occasionally, but for the most part, it's more like, the fuck is going on with Nesta? And then Cassian has his own life outside of it. But I really liked that overall he was like, fine, I'll fucking go away. And then he kind of like made sure she made it home safe. And he does it often enough that she knows that he's waiting to leave until he sees the light come on in her apartment. And then he leaves. Other than that, he's just watching from a far rooftop like Batman.
Do you think he visits her more often than we realize?
Yeah, because she knew when he would leave. When she says, she knew that he was up there observing her from some rooftop. And basically, she wanted to not turn on that light because she knew that he wouldn't leave until he saw the light come on in her apartment. So in order to punish him and make him cold and shitty, she thought about just not turning it on at all, right?
Oh.
So
didn't pay that good of attention.
No, you're good. That was it. I just thought it was cute that he made sure she was okay.
Yeah, but also, that's kind of the whole point of the next book, I believe.
Just what?
Those 2.
Honestly, I'm excited for it. I'm ready. Feyre, get fucking pregnant. You and Rhysand take a back burner for a little bit. Just go be rich.
Just go be
I'm ready to hear about the poor people.
Chapter 22, Feyre. Rhysand's mom made all of the dresses, is what we find out.
And Feyre fucks in them. Little weird.
And yeah, they have she asked about changing the tattoos on her hands, right? And she wanted the Night Court insignia on her palms. And he says, if you do this, you cannot change it. Why? Why do you think it's like that? Like
all good tattoo artists, you get one do-over.
Like, what do you think was so special about the Night Court insignia that once it's put there, it's never leaving?
I assume it's a straight-up brand instead of just a tattoo. Does that make sense?
To have that insignia, it's a brand.
Yeah, that's my guess. I don't know. It wasn't explained very well, or I wasn't paying that much attention. Because I heard that she wanted to change a tattoo, and I was just like, you fickle bitch. It's a tattoo. You just get a different...
I was like, you could change tattoos this whole time?
You want the Night Court insignia, just have it put on your back or something. Like, Christ, your arms are almost, gassed up, but I don't know, man.
And we've already talked about their sex scene, the logistics.
The one in the sky's a problem. The one that was done here, I thought was really well done overall.
Yeah,
I saw no major
it
issues
didn't.
with it.
Yeah, it was a lot about rhysand more than I expected,
Which I would agree is...
which
it wasn't...
fell into logistics. If you are mind vibing, it makes sense that he would say those things.
Yeah. What kind of blew my mind was, for a Gav, it's like, we can have sex for a week straight. He's not exactly out here like tantric sexing his way through her life. Does that make sense? You never hear about a session for them that goes on for a long, long time, other than the very first time they were fucking at the cabin. And it wasn't necessarily that each session was long, it was that they fucked like 1 billion times in a few days. But I just found it really interesting that it was like, I'm going to fuck you all day. And she's like, I like the walls of a cabin. And he's like, okay. She's like, those walls, those are the ones. I guess they're softer or something. I don't remember.
There were more paintings on it to fall down later.
Oh. But I won't say I enjoyed this because I didn't, given my environment. But at every point where I was kind of having to listen to this and check in with it, I thought, well, there are a lot of moments where I was like, well, that's not bad. That's kind of sweet. It wasn't just grotesque.
Yeah.
The way some of it's done gratuitously, where there's like, you're wet. And you're like, okay, don't be gross. Just enjoy the moisture, man. Chill. You know what I mean? You don't wait to dry somebody up real quick and just talk about it. Like, fucking dummy.
Yeah. And then he bought her a house, an estate.
And she was wet.
They banged again.
Time to break in the new walls.
Chapter 23. It'd be hilarious if chapter 22 is retold, but from rhysand's POV. It's just the same thing all over again.
Shit, a brick. And honestly, that might be the funniest thing. I would like you to rewrite chapter 22 into a rhysand point of view, and I would just listen to you read it to me. I think that would be awesome.
This was when rhysand goes back and cooks for Tamlin.
I don't. The way you're saying that makes it seem like you really prepared something.
Yeah.
What he did is the equivalent of throwing waffles in the toaster and not.
It's more than what I expected rhysand to do.
Yeah, he cooked.
He cooked for him.
He cooked for him.
Unseasoned steak.
Like if you did a toaster strudel and then frosted the top, that was more.
No, rhysand butchered an elk.
No, well, he did. He processed the elk with a flick of his shadows. Sharp
cool.
shadows. I do think it sounds awesome, but also very odd. It's one of the few moments in this that sounds cartoony to me, where it's like, and that elk was skinned within, mere moments, a blink. And I'm just like, okay, what do we do with the elk hide? We don't discuss that at all.
Despite the entire war happening, this was so much cooler than all the other tricks that we've
That's
seen.
exactly it. I cannot visualize how he cut up that elk.
With shadows. No clue. It was like,
where are the guts? Like,
gone.
He was so good and so precise. He didn't nick the bladder or anything because the smell.
Dropped in the pocket realm. Don't worry about it.
Where Feyre keeps stacking other stuff.
All their other goods.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know about this pocket dimension. Is it organized in some way? It seems like she just kind of throws shit in there and once in a while, like, retrieves it.
She doesn't like using it. That's why she needs more houses.
Fair.
She kind of says that, too.
She does. You're right.
Chapter 24 is about Moor. I don't know what this chapter was about. It was confusing. She's riding horses, and there's a creepy shadow.
Moor's on her ranch. She bought the ranch 200 years ago, 300 years ago, something like that. Came with 6 horses. We're led to believe that the horse she's riding is one that came with this ranch. It's a 300-year-old horse.
Oh my God, what?
This would be my hang up with it, right?
Wow, I didn't pick up on that.
These aren't just regular horses either.
These are Fey horses.
Well, they're fancy. They're the most fancy horses from across the world because this individual was a connoisseur of ponies and then decided he didn't like them that much, so they just went with the house, right? I guess it's 300 acres. I think she bought 200 years ago, if I'm getting this figured out right. Either way, this is a very elderly horse.
Well, is it really the same horse? Or is it the same?
We're not told that they ever fold out. And also weird.
What weird details to include?
She includes these horses. The house came with 6 horses. The one she's riding is a white. It's a white horse. Just this all white horse. That's like, but why include the detail of the house came with 6 as opposed to she has horses at this house?
Okay.
If it came with 6, I'm left to assume this is one of the 6.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. They're just these Fae horses. Interesting. What do you think of the shadow? What was that all about?
Okay,
Just an unknown thing we don't get to know yet?
Hold on one second. The Bryaxis could be there.
Oh my god, it's pretty success.
It could be. We don't know where anybody is right now. What I would like to say to this, though, I really liked the way that they discussed why Moore liked riding the horse.
Yeah, that was cool. And it made sense.
The idea of winnowing, never feeling like traveling is super neat. It had never occurred to me.
Yeah, that was a cool detail that I thought sounded like something you would enjoy, of explaining why would she ride horses when she could winnow?
Yeah,
She
we're a
told
lot
us.
faster than the horse, to be fair, but I get the idea of sometimes you just want to be majestic. Totally get it. I myself, and I would enjoy riding a horse once in a while still. But I loved that they went through and she explained why this was so great for her. Now, who maintains this 300-acre little farm ranch type funny farm deal?
I don't know.
We don't know.
We don't need to know. It's just somebody who gets paid, and that's good.
And then she
Good
comes
for the
and shows
economy.
up once in a while and rides her Lippis Hunter stallion into the woods. Fuck. So funny. I'm so rich. Ha ha ha. It just takes off on the whitest horse. She's a horse so white. No. Look at me go.
Thank you. What do you think
It
of the
can't
shadow?
dance. Now I'm done.
What do
That horse can't jump. It's so white.
What do you think of the shadow? Anything or nothing?
So I wondered if it wasn't, we were still missing one of the death creatures, right? That didn't ever show up for the war. The bone carver's brother, basically.
Yeah.
And I wondered if this wasn't it, or if it wasn't Bryaxis, but she didn't seem familiar with it. And she is familiar with Bryaxis. Bryaxis just appears as fear, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just gassed me up to the next book.
Yeah, that's probably what it was about.
Fucking better be.
Chapters 25 through 28. I'm just going to sum it up because we really already went over this. She's given the studio. There's a brush and studio charity. That one threw me through a loop. I'm like, why are there charities? Just support it, please, Feyre. I'm glad she did. This is the moment from the very beginning where Feyre reached her dream, which seemed impossible at the beginning of Thorns and Roses. They found who spread the discontent. There are women in the ranks. Art class. Feyre is an art therapist. Flirted and walked home. And that is the end of the book.
Yeah, that was it. You're right. We touched on all the other stuff.
We
that
did,
happened.
yeah.
What do you think about the theory that Rhys is just rhysand shadow morphing?
It's a great way to remember her name because
What is her name?
Racina.
Rhys.
Well, clearly not that great a help. Couldn't remember it.
Well, listen, all I'm saying is, would you be shocked?
I would be shocked if you were right.
That's what I mean. Okay. All right. So no part of you thought that was the case.
No.
She came up, you were like, This just seems like Rhys trying to see if she's a little bit swinging a leg over the fence, so to speak.
That's all I had. I truly think we touched on everything that this book had to offer.
I'm proud of us for doing it.
We did it.
We did do it.
Do you have any thoughts, comments, or concerns?
No, I want to say thank you for going through this with me. It was really fun.
It was good.
And I missed being here. I'm glad to be back.
We're going to take a break from the series. We did a little sidestep to reading Pond Water, which was...
Side quest.
Yeah, side quest of reading Pond Water. We're going to do that one next and switch to Fourth Wing and Iron Flame as a reread in preparation for the third book coming out in January.
Onyx Storm.
Bum bum. But that is all I had for notes.
Perfect.
I love you.
I love you.
You're my bestie.
You're my bestie.
It was a great time. We had fun. Now get out and go live your life.
No, wait. No. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate and love you all. Please follow us here, TikTok or Instagram at Shadow Daddies Podcast.
and then go live your life.
Bye.
Bye. Get out. We're done. This was Daggers and Shadow Daddies. Now it's my time. Toodaloo. It was fun for us. I hope it was fun for you. But that's all we've got. Goodbye. Come back in a few days. We love you.